You're listening to the Yard of Greatness podcast, episode number 22. Welcome to the Yard of Greatness podcast. My name is June Allen, your sister in service from juneallen.net. On this show, I empower non-white listeners to prioritize their racial wellness and emotional sobriety. The platform is for educational purposes, is based on my experiences, and is shared in good faith. Always consult your doctor, therapist, or licensed mental health professional before applying any of the suggestions given within this platform. The vision is to build a blackalicious life of empowerment so there can be peace. Now on with the show. Greetings family, greetings. Welcome to everyone listening in today, and I have got an absolute smasher for you this morning, and I'm going to be talking about black men, beauty and black self-love with Kheryse Johnson, and she is the beauty editor for Glam Africa magazine, and I am so excited for you to hear it. I was planning on getting this podcast out to you much earlier in the month, obviously with it being Black History Month in the UK, but unfortunately with one thing and another it just hasn't happened. So anyway, 1,000 apologies for that. I hope you can forgive me, and despite that, I know you're going to enjoy the show. It's better late than never. A lot of the stuff that we talk about is still relevant, so you can, find all the information in the show notes. So, without further ado, here it is, my interview with Kheryse Johnson. Kheryse,
hey,
welcome to the Yard of Greatness. It's so good to hear, good to see you. Good for you to come and chat with us today.
I'm so excited.
So, for the listeners, do you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself? Who are you?
Yes, so I am the beauty editor of Glam Africa magazine, and I'm a writer by profession. So I do communications at the Black Cultural Archives as well, and dabble in a few other bits and pieces too. But yeah, basically I'm a Pan-African womanist, and I feel like my role when writing is all about representing black women and our story. So I try to do that as much as possible in all the spaces that I work in.
How do you define Pan-Africanism?
I think
for you,
for me, it means the unity of the African people, both native and diaspora. I feel like if you're Pan-African, you believe that there should be no borders because they were not created by us. I think we should get rid of them. I think we're one. I think we should identify as one people instead of using all these different labels that are put upon us by others.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree, because I think that becomes part of the reason why we can't progress and why we can't move forward.
Yeah.
I was having a conversation with a brother on social media yesterday, and he was kind of debating whether I should be using the word black as opposed to African, and I was saying to him, is that gonna end white supremacy? If I okay, so I'll call myself African now and not say black. Now what?
You know what? I think that though that is part of the confusion tactics that are adopted against us. The fact that we squabble amongst ourselves about these names, it's just it's pure time wasting. And I feel like we focus too much on that kind of thing instead of what we actually could be doing to action change.
Exactly.
And so those debates online, I try not to.
I don't. I didn't continue the conversation. I said that to him, now what?
Yeah.
And then I thought I'm not engaging in anything else because there's no point.
Yeah. Sometimes you just have to just let people stay in where they are on their stage of the journey.
It's deflection.
Do you, yeah. So for me, Pan-Africanism is unity among black people. And yes, I use the word black. And I'm happy with that word black, and I'm fine with it, and I won't accept any arguments against it. That's what we are. We're one people.
Me too. Amen to that. So yeah, in terms of beauty, obviously because of the magazine's work and stuff you do, you must see a lot of all of the different ways that we're portrayed and how black women really think about their beauty and stuff like that. What do you think are the biggest challenges that black women face?
I think it's still representation. I think there's a kind of veneer of representation in the beauty industry where a lot of brands are perhaps putting a black face on their campaign, but actually when you go to the stores to buy the products, they're not there in your shade. Or they might be marketing new products and new ranges and new lines, but they don't invite the black media, they don't invite black bloggers and vloggers unless they can tap into their followers. But they really try to keep and streamline who they're addressing when they're talking to their audience in terms of black people. And I've noticed that a lot when I've gone to events or been invited to events. I think representation is still an issue, you know.
So it's almost like a box ticking exercise. They get a couple of black people in just so it looks good.
Yes.
But then when it comes to the meat of the product, we're not there.
Exactly. Do you know, I was furious with the recent launch of Fenty Beauty.
Oh, okay.
There was very few black media invited to the launch of Harvey Nicks. And honestly, like, it was outrageous because it's Rihanna. It's a product that centers all women, and she's a black woman. So it's not like they can say, okay, well, it's for everybody, you know, we invited just the main press. Or no, there are black vloggers, bloggers, publications like
used it in the marketing.
Damn Africa, Black Beauty and Hair. Yeah, these people.
I saw that in the marketing. She had a lot of black people on YouTube and stuff, vloggers that were, you know, oh, this is fantastic.
Yeah,
so
and
I saw that.
Exactly, and we're excited about the product, but the actual launch itself, how many black faces were at the launch? You know, I think these people are really, it's insipid, this exclusion. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges for us. But at the same time, it does go hand in hand with the idea that if you're buying black owned, you know that product's for you. So I'm torn, you know, for me, I'm torn working in this industry because I'm kind of like, I want us to be represented. I want us to have options. But at the same time, I don't want to beg them to give them my money, you know? So I'm kind of like, it's hard. On the one hand, Rihanna is that's a black owned business, and you know we should give them our money, but all her people, are they black?
No.
Who's on their payroll? Do you know what I mean? Like the PR company. Yeah, I won't mention the PR company that she works with, but they do not like black people. That's all I'm going to say. And so for me, like, yeah, it's a constant battle of, do I push the angle of blind black owned, which is what I do myself for in the business that I'm working in the magazine, or do I try to push for representation for everybody and try to get involved, be inclusive and ask them to be inclusive? But it feels a bit like begging. So
yeah, and I'm not going to do begging either. I agree. And for me personally, I like the little small business. I like going to markets and seeing the people. Like a lot of the stuff that I buy, my beauty stuff that I buy, I actually go to the smaller businesses.
Yeah, and your makeup looks great, by the way.
Yeah, oh, thank you. You'll see it later, listeners. We're going to take some pictures, but not now. So yeah, I tend to go to the smaller people, you know, and get all my black soap and all of that kind of stuff. And I don't use a lot of beauty products, to be honest. I don't. I literally use olive oil with a little bit of essential oil in it. That's my body thing.
Yeah.
I went to a recent, whatchamacallit? One of these, you make all your different creams and all that kind of stuff. The woman that does this, I want to get her in another time actually to talk to her about it. But I make my own cocoa butter creams and things like that. So that's what I use on my body.
Yeah.
And my makeup and stuff like that. I probably will buy Rihanna's stuff, you know, particularly because it's her and it's a black owned business. But I feel the same as you. Like I'm torn between whether two or not. I mean, you know, there's a couple of other brands that I use. I'm not going to name them because I'm not going to give them a platform, but there's a couple other brands that I use that are not black owned, you know, and it's hard, you know, I don't really like Fashion Fair, I don't really like their products. I'm just trying to think some of the other black-owned ones. Do you know any really good black-owned makeup
I know
brands?
Tons of beautiful black-owned makeup brands, particularly here in the UK, that are fantastic. They're natural.
Names, please.
So LOG Cosmetics is one of my favourites. I love their foundation. I'll put the link in the show notes. And just the owner is just a lovely woman as well. You know, she really does care about the industry and what she's doing, and she puts love into her products. Absolutely adore that. Karen Cosmetics is another one. And God, there are so many.
I don't wear a lot of makeup.
Cosmetics. That's skincare range, but they do have makeup too. Colour Cosmetics. There are just, you know, tons, and I think they don't get the press that they should, and they're not available, say, in Boots yet. Or although saying that, Niz is on the high street now. Lips. But some of them are not. They sell online or they go to events and things, and they're not on the high street, so they're not easily accessible, and that's how they get overlooked. But I try to give them a platform in the magazine where I can and promote their products because you know we need to support our own. So
I think it is important because, like you said, I think you know, they'll take somebody like Rihanna and then they'll kind of just capitalize on her vision. Yeah, so even though Rihanna is the main person and it's her product and all the rest of it, there's a lot of these other kind of white corporate companies that are going to be making a lot of money out of it. So I want to give her my money, but, you know, I like you said, you know, there's no black people at the Harvey Nichols launch and all that kind of stuff. That bothers me.
I think we've got to be mindful as well about the kind of image that they portray, that these brands portray us as, and how they represent us, you know. I think that's a risk, that when we're picking a brand, we might think it's black owned because they've got black everywhere.
Yeah,
but actually,
and it's not.
I mean,
they're caught onto that.
A lot of people thought that Sleek was black owned for the longest time, and it's not, and it never has been.
Wow.
But because you can find them in the packs, which also is not black owned, you can find them in those stores. You know, people think, oh, it must be for us and it must be by us. No, they're just very clever at reaching out to us for our money, but they don't want us. They want our money. So yeah, I like to go to these events for non-black brands and sort of, you know, call them out. I'm kind of like, have you got my shades? You know, do you have anything darker than Beyonce? Or is this as much as you can do? You know?
Absolutely.
And they're uncomfortable. And I want them to be uncomfortable because I want them to realise that what they're doing is excluding a huge market. So those that are excluding us, really, they need to consider how much they're losing. And the ones that do, they really need to represent us, like fully. Have us in the boardroom. Have us doing the testing. You know, don't just make a product that's brown, but when you put it on, actually, it makes you look ashy as hell. You know, have people actually at every stage of that business who are heavy melanin. Why not? If you really want to represent us, we're not just going to be a veneer for you, you know?
Yeah, so. and I think, you know, just hearing you talk about, you know, the stuff that you were just saying, you know, I feel really sad because, you know, it's not just the, you know, the overt racism that kind of impacts the way that we feel about ourselves. It's the visibility. We're invisible to them. You know, and that is actually going to have an impact on how we feel about ourselves. If I can't see myself represented, if I can't see somebody that looks like me, if the only black people I see with this makeup all looking fabulous is you know, Beyonce shade and you know, and white and lighter, then what does that say about, you know, those of us that are darker? And you know, it's so important for us to be able to. I think what Rihanna's done is actually shown, you know, the beauty industry, that there are a lot of us out there that we want to feel fabulous as well. We do want to, and the market is there for us.
The thing is, she has the power to do that. I mean, there are so many people who've been trying to show that for years, for decades. But because it's Rihanna, now suddenly other brands are taking notice. And that's fine, you know, that's fine for me. I don't mind.
Won't buy from them,
as long as it gets done, it's done. But I certainly won't be buying from them. Exactly, I won't be buying from them.
Because they could have done it from before and they didn't do it. Because I noticed on social media, there was so much hype around Rihanna's makeup, and then all of a sudden, all of the other brands were kind of posting all the different doing swatches of all the dark shades that they do, and it's just like, well, you didn't care about all this before, but now you know Rihanna's going to make money from it. Now you want to show us your dark brand. We're not interested.
And again, you go to the shops and they're not there anyway because none of the stores are stocking them.
They don't stock them.
Yeah, so it's like, it's a veneer of inclusion. So yeah, that's a representation.
It's just a box ticking exercise. Yeah, and ultimately they want to push the lighter colours because that's what they deem is beautiful. They're going to push the lighter ones, you know, because that's what they want to do.
Yeah.
So in terms of self-love and the way that you practice it, what sort of things do you do to kind of practice self-love? Because obviously being beautiful and that's just the external part of it.
Yeah.
But I think the deeper part of it, the internal stuff, I think is what's really important, because that is actually going to the external stuff that we do is basically just what's the word I'm looking for? It's a reflection of what's going on inside as well. So how do you do? Because you look so fabulous today.
Oh,
I have to say, you look really beautiful.
Well, you take all the makeup off. I think it's very much about kind of being self-aware, and I think one of the things I do to make sure that I'm feeling good on the inside is to have some time to myself and just, you know, without the kind of noise of other people, without the noise of social media, without, you know, makeup and even clothes, you know, just alone. And I think that's so important to just have that kind of silence and to really reflect on what's going on within inside of me and what I need to do, what I need to change, what I need to work on. That just comes from being, you know, by myself and being quiet, you know.
And what sort of stuff comes up? Do you mind sharing the types of things that you I mean, how do you, when you get silent, what type of racist, what does your internalized racism look like when you get silent? How does that manifest?
I think there's a lot of questions when I'm on my own about whether or not I really believe some of the things I want to believe. You know, so I might spend a day kind of, you know, posting about a certain topic or talking about a topic or writing about a topic. And then when I'm on my own, I'm like, do I actually think that's true? Like, am I actioning that in my life? Or, you know, for example, we were doing a piece about foundations, for example.
Okay.
I don't want to keep this conversation on makeup, but it's one example about how sometimes people use foundation to make themselves lighter, more beautiful. Yeah, so like rather than bleaching, it's kind of, well, underneath the makeup, I'm like 3 shades darker. And this is an issue. This is an issue of self-denial. I won't go as far as self-hate because I think bleaching would be the next step to that, you know, but it's a denial of what you are. And so I might write a piece about that and spend all day editing it and working on it. And then when I'm on my own, quietly, I'm kind of like, do I do that? Do I feel better in a lighter shade? Or when I'm in a darker shade? Or when I've gone and got the big tan, you know, from Dubai? Am I happier like that? Do I get noticed as much? Or does it bother me that I'm noticed as much or not? You know, those questions come up and I'm like, am I really living what I want to believe? Does that make sense?
It makes absolute sense.
So there is some, you know, I think my doubts come out and I try to understand them and understand where these doubts and these emotions are coming from and deal with them, you know, rather than kind of fight it. So I have to admit that, yeah, it's a journey and I'm still on it. I'm not going to pretend that like I'm completely comfortable, you know, I'm not. I still have that internalized kind of whiteness, I suppose, and it's everywhere. So at times when I'm silent, it bubbles up to the surface and I have to work on it.
It is hard and it is a journey, I agree. It's very much a journey. It's something that you have to, for me, it's the same thing. It's a daily ritual. You have to check in with yourself, isn't it? It's and I do the same thing. It's like, okay, what's going on with me today? You know? And if feelings come up, especially for difficult feelings, okay, well, what's that about? You know, what triggered it and what do I need? What am I going to do about it? Do I need a hug? Do I need to make a phone call? Do I need to have a good cry? Do I need to rage?
And whatever it is, you just have to do it. Like there's no point in fighting it or trying to suppress it because it will come out in other ways. You know, I thought I've been fine and then had a few drinks with some friends and actually I'm furious. I'm so angry. And when I'm drunk, it just explodes. And I'm like, my friend's like, whoa, 1 minute, wait a minute, you were cool. What just happened? You know, one little thing. And I realized that I'm just suppressing this anger. And I need to release it. I need to find ways to let it out. And I think that's part of being creative is that you've got to let out whatever your emotions are in your work. So do a job that you can really express yourself, you know?
It's great. That for me is the epitome of self-love. I've been doing this, I've got this free 7-day course going on at the moment and it's all about black self-love. And what you just explained there is an exercise in what I call racial intimacy. You're getting to know yourself, you're understanding what your needs are, you're accepting your humanity, your feelings, and then dealing with it as it needs to be dealt with. And that's part of being human. And I think there are so many of us out there that are so disconnected from ourselves for different reasons that we don't understand our feelings. We're so numb. We're so numb. And so we can't celebrate who we are and we can't love ourselves and be fabulous because we're dead inside. We're in survival mode. We're just going to the next day, to the next day, to the next, and not really standing in the beauty of who we really are. So it's really great to hear, you know, that little snapshot of what you do because I think it's really, really important. Really important. Yeah. So Black History Month UK.
Yay!
Yay! So
I enjoy it.
Are you enjoying it?
Yeah.
And what have you been up to? And what are the Black Cultural Archives going to be doing? For those of you who don't know, Kheryse actually works for the what is with all these police today?
Brixton.
For those of you that don't know, Kheryse actually works for the Black Cultural Archives, which is an amazing, beautiful space in the heart of Brixton. They've got a beautiful little cafe. They've got an amazing reading room.
Exhibition
Exhibition space. There's loads of different things going on there.
Fantastic.
So tell us about what's happening. Black History Month?
Well, there's a lot going on. So what I've decided to do is join one of the courses. So we have lots of courses and talks that go on, and also, as well as external events, people come and put their events on here, their community events. And one of the really good ones that's come up is the Black British Activism course. So
wow.
I've joined that, and it's actually led by different elders in the community who are part of those movements and who still are part of those movements. So it's fantastic. It's one of the courses that's once a week for 6 weeks, and I think after that we've got another course going on. Again, so it's Black history, because I think one of the things that is confusing about this month is a lot of people do cultural events instead of historical events, and the whole point is it's Black History Month, so we need to be looking at our history. We need more sort of school kids coming in, we need people coming to visit the exhibition, wanting to see what we have in our archive space, because it's history. For me, Black Culture Month is something completely different. Maybe it should be November, we can discuss, but so I'm doing a history course here, and we've got plenty of them on, and it's just really exciting to cement my knowledge, because I came here to volunteer in the first place because I didn't know anything about Black British history. I was very much Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, that's it. I didn't know about the Stella Dadzies or the Claudia Joneses or the Darcus Howes that we have, and so that's why I came to this space in the first place, and I haven't been able to leave because it's amazing, and I just think it helps build you up, your confidence. You have a foundation, something very strong that you're coming from. We're a very resilient people, and I think this space is testament to that. So Black History Month is awesome, and I drag my nephew around everywhere because he's 9 and he needs to know this stuff now. Not coming to it late like I did. Same for me. I only started doing this work, later in my life, and I think it is important. There is something quite powerful about being in a Black space because it's for you, and there is something particular about this particular space I absolutely love. I came in here and I just felt like it was home from home. Yeah. They've got the big comfy chairs downstairs in the restaurant, or the cafe. It's more like cafe really, isn't it? And it's just a really nice space to sit down. The woman behind the counter was absolutely lovely. Femi, very open face. She's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful woman. She made me a lovely cup of tea, and I'm going to go down there and have some of the red pea soup in a minute. But it's just such a nice space. Yeah, really, and we're like nice a family. Space. It's a very small group. Very comes across like that. Does it? It really does come across like that. Yeah, that's how I felt when I came in here. Yeah, it's got that feel to it, and the organisation is run by survives because of volunteers, so everybody in the space wants to be here, and you really feel that. I think that's an important atmosphere to cultivate when you're dealing with a Black space, because it can come up against a lot of adversity, and we do get the odd person coming in here and being like, what's this place about, why is this here, or why is it called Black, and you're just like hello. So those questions, having to have those questions and deal with those questions, it just proves to you how important the space is, so yes, great. Yeah. So you also run a sister circle. Tell us a bit about that. Yeah, so I think that was probably one of the first things that I did when I became, I don't know if I should say cognizant, I don't know, like aware, maybe. I'd say aware, is that I started a sister circle. And it was when I was living in Paris. I watched the film 12 Years a Slave. It was in the cinema, and it traumatized me. It was such a shock, Deep. And I went off the back of Django, and then watched this film. God. So can you imagine, I went into 12 Years a Slave thinking it would be another Django. So the trauma of just the brutality of it really just it shocked me out of my white lens, I guess. And I was just kind of like, oh my God, I need to do something. I need to talk to someone. And so I started the sister circle called Code Eben, which is French for Ebony Code. And what we do is we discuss the roles of Black women in, I would say, the African diaspora, because it started in Paris and we have one in London, and a lot of the women were born either in Europe or raised here, went to school here, and we talk about what it means to be Black and not home, home away from home, if you will, because you always kind of feel a bit displaced. A lot of us don't even know what country we're from originally. A lot of us are kind of navigating the space of being Black and being a woman, dealing with misogynoir, and so we meet every month to discuss different elements of that and what it means to survive in a hostile environment. The Western world is a hostile environment for Black women. Absolutely. And so it's really been helpful, not just for me to run the group and set questionnaires and discuss with these women, but for the women themselves to come to this group and be really honest about what they're feeling in their own skin. I think, you know, I've had a lot of good reports back from the women who said they've made changes in their lives, they've started their own version of the circle. There's so many different really good advantages that have come from it. So yeah, the group meets in Paris. We have one in London, and we will be starting one in Berlin as well next year.
That's awesome.
I don't know how long I'll be leading the group, but I certainly will continue to, you know, present materials, because I've started to incorporate some material from the Black Cultural Archives as well. And so I'll certainly still be doing that, but I don't know if I'll run the London one, because I need some time for just kind of my again it's that silence. You know, I'm doing a lot of things, a lot of projects for the Black community, if you will, particularly the women. I almost said females, oh my god. The women.
I saw your post about that. That was so funny, and I so agree.
Oh my god,
cat? Are you talking about a dog? Are you talking about a horse? No, you're talking about a woman.
Do you know, it really sits horribly with me. I hate the sound of it.
Why do they do it?
I hate it. Well, you know what, it's
so
an interesting
annoying.
conversation, is that in the Black community, I feel like our men are a challenge. And I won't say all of our men before you get your listeners cussing, right? But I'm going to say that something like that, the fact that we have to spend time even explaining our humanity as women to men, that takes up so much time. It's an
waste
issue.
Of time again. It's another. Yeah.
It's another thing that we need to. We shouldn't have to spend so much time discussing that. You know, like why I feel like a lot of the issue is that people say, oh, feminism gets in the way of the real issue, you know. And I won't argue with that, in that I would say I'm Black first. At the end of the day, Black first. And that's very important. However, I think the reason why I add womanist to, I say I'm a Pan-African womanist, is because the fact that I'm having to combat men in my struggle is a whole nother issue. It's a whole nother problem, which gets in the way of the movement for Black liberation. Do you see what I'm saying? So I feel like their denial, when I hear Black men denying that there are issues that Black women have, that they don't suffer, that they have an advantage over us in gender, it's like...
They don't want to have that conversation. I think...
They sound like white people.
They do
sound like white people. They're like, no, that doesn't exist. No, why are you talking about that? It's in the way. No, I don't understand why you're saying this. We can't be patriarchal? Yeah, we can't be patriarchal. Let me try that again. My thing is, I read an article by the Very Smart Brothers. You know, there's a website called Very Smart Brothers. It's fantastic. And they said that Black men are the white people of the Black community. And everybody was up in arms and angry. And okay, the title stirs, and I can see how it makes people upset. But when you read the content, and when you look at what we're up against in terms of racism and sexism, our men are our biggest opposition when we talk about women's issues. And it's like, we need to deal with that first. I know we've got a huge umbrella of oppression of whiteness.
We want to come together
within ourselves.
Internally.
Yes, we need to come together. And there's so much healing to do. And we can't do it if you're still arguing with us that you want to call us females. I mean, that seems like a small thing, but I can't even agree with you that female is an adjective. It's not a noun. So when you're calling me a female, you're dehumanizing me. You're saying to me that I'm just a sex organ. I'm just a part. You know, I don't understand why, when I say to you, but you don't say males. I don't say males. You males, how dare you? Nobody says males. But they still want to argue with you like, that's not an issue. That's not a problem. That's nothing to do with it. You get sensitive ass feminism get in the way. And it is so irritating. And again, part of my self-care is having to step away from men. I'm going to have to be honest with you that being, you know, in the Black space and being in the Black community and being around people who call themselves conscious or cognizant or... You see a lot of fakes. You see a lot of people who just want to replace white supremacy with Black male supremacy. They don't care about women. So I move away from that to make sure that I maintain my sanity, you know? And that's why I focus on misogynoir.
I think it's important to remember, for me, I have to, you know, remember to be compassionate around all of this stuff, because we've been abused and we have been brainwashed, and there's so much nonsense that we've had to deal with.
Absolutely.
And it's not excusing it.
Yeah, no,
but I'm looking at it from you know, the bigger picture.
Yeah.
And I think that if we can't have those, it's going to be difficult for us to heal if we can't have those internal conversations, because I think a lot of people hide in, oh, it's white supremacy this and white supremacy that, and the white man is doing this and the white man is doing that.
Yeah.
But yes, we know the white man is doing all of that, but we need to focus on what we're doing within
What
our
are we
community
doing?
first.
Exactly.
Because we can't fight white supremacy if we're not dealing with the stuff that's going on in that. One of the things that I always say is, it's got to begin with you. Let it begin with me.
Yeah.
They say that in recovery. Let it begin with me, because if I'm not right, and I'm, and I can't hear what my black brothers are saying, or black men can't hear what other black sisters are saying, and we can't hear what our children are saying, we're still bashing our children, we're still doing this and that. If we can't deal with those issues first, then we ain't going to be able to fight white supremacy.
Exactly. What chance do we have?
We ain't got no chance.
Yeah, yeah. And that's why I think it's important to step away from that space rather than stay in it fighting.
I won't argue with people about that stuff. I won't.
Yeah, I feel like we're at different stages of our journey.
Yeah.
So I need to deal with me. And it's true that if you're going to be in a position of, say, if you're in a position of being, in the public eye, or even like a community representative, you have to be somebody who's able to be open-minded, listen, respond, not react. And because I know that I'm not that yet, I have to step away. I'm very reactionary. I feel like when black males call us, and I said males on purpose. Okay, I'm gonna behave. I feel like when black men call us bed wenches, rather than stay and argue and be like, this is where this word comes from, this is what that word means, I'll just step away, because I know that I'm reacting to being offended, being insulted, and it just doesn't help me. So I move away from that space rather than, whereas ask me a year ago, I would have been right up in there in their faces, you know what I mean?
No, I don't.
But that's not my place to do that. I need to look after me, and I need to look after mine. So yeah, it's navigating that space. I'm going to be honest with you, being in the black community and being somebody who considers himself pro-black, I find that's one of our biggest problems is the gender gap. And we need to work on self in order to heal that.
And a lot of people got to be willing to do the work. They want white supremacy to change. They're busy begging white supremacy to change. They're obsessed with what white supremacy is doing, but they don't want to do the internal work.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's my thing. What are you? Stop looking at white supremacy. We know what white supremacy is doing. What are you doing?
What are you doing?
What are you actually doing?
What are your kids doing?
Yeah, what are your
do
kids
you
doing?
know?
What are you actually doing to change the pathology within your family?
Yeah.
Stop looking at what white supremacy is doing. And I understand why people do it, because that's what happens when people are traumatized.
Yeah.
They get obsessed with the abuser. That's what happens.
Yeah, but this is really, really slowing us down.
It is.
And I I think that's our first mission, really, is to heal the self, which is what reparations is about, which is why I really support reparations, because it's about self-repair. And that's what I'm doing now, and I think that's what all of us can be doing, particularly when it's Black History Month. I mean, what an amazing time to focus on self and where you're from and what you're about.
Right, so just wrapping up, I'm just conscious of the time.
Yes, it's very late.
I was going to say, so where can we find you? Where can we find you? Because we want to know. I'll put all the show for the listeners. Don't worry, I'm going to put everything that's been said today. I'm going to put everything in the show notes, so don't worry about that. So we want to know the Sister Circle. When is the next one, and where can we find you on that? So
you can find me on Facebook. We've got a page called Code Eben, and we put there both cities, both Paris and London's next meeting date. So Code Eben, that's CODE, and then Eben is EBENE.
Fabulous.
Yeah, but also I'm on Twitter and on Instagram as well, but I'm on there as me, and I'm Red Vanessa.
Fabulous. And the Black Cultural Archives website, what's that? What's the Black, do you know?
Oh, yes. So you can see our current programme, which just came out this week, on our website, which is www.bcaheritage.org.uk.
Fabulous. Kheryse?
Yes.
It's been an absolute pleasure, and I have to get you back.
Fun.
It was fun. I'd like to do this more regularly, actually.
I really enjoyed it, really.
You know, I think even if we do it, maybe we could do it maybe once a month.
You know what? I'd love that.
We could do it once a month. Fun. And we could maybe talk about current issues.
Yeah.
You know, just do like a co-hosting. It's really great to, you definitely have to come back on.
This is so important what you're doing. Like, it's really, really important that we have somewhere that we can just sort of centre ourselves. And I think a lot of people, you know, when you label it and you call it, I don't know, therapy or counselling, or it can be such a deterrent, particularly with our history with therapies as Black people. But I think it's so important just to have that space, and someone like you, what you're doing is brilliant. So I really appreciate you.
So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed the show, and I'm definitely going to be having Kheryse back on the show because it was so much fun. If you've got any questions, or if there's anything else that I've missed out in the show notes, which I don't think I have, but in case I have, or if you've got any other questions or anything for Kheryse, you can email me at info@yardofgreatness.com. Till next time, see ya! This episode is sponsored by the Yard of Greatness Empowerment Program, How I Reclaim My Blackness from Self-Hate to Self-Love. Are you angry and exhausted by the injustice of racism? Are you sick and tired of feeling powerless? Do you feel ashamed when you're sharing your Black experience with others? If you want to understand how you can change and transform your pain into power, go to drn.juneallen.net. Be empowered.